What's up guys, Mike from Rockville, and today we are going to be talking about how to set up and install your 70 volt Pendant speakers from Rockville. Let's get to it. So the first part in the installation process is actually knowing how to hang your speakers from a beam or from the ceiling. Let's go check that out in our downstairs office. All right guys, we are downstairs. We're actually in our new office space that is currently under construction. But one reason we wanted to install the Pendant speaker here is because you can see it has this beautiful open ceiling design, and that's actually one of the places that you're going to get the most out of your Pendant speakers, because these steel beams are going to be able to support the weight of your speakers, and they actually have these grooves inside which are really great for hiding speaker wire and the rest of the cabling that you're going to have to do. So now you are going to need a couple of different things to hang this Pendant speaker off a steel beam. You're going to need stainless steel cable. The reason we want to use this is because it's very durable and it's able to support a lot of weight. Now these speakers are not heavy, but you're going to want to make sure that you're using a cable that is able to support the weight easily. Now this specific size is 1/8 inch stainless steel. You just want to make sure that your cable is easily able to fit through the eye loop over here on the back of the speaker. Now on top of the stainless steel cable, you're also going to need wire cable clips. So they look like this. They have this little loop in the front and then two little nuts on the back to tighten or loosen it. So you can pick these up at most hardware stores. I was able to find them very easily, even at a local small hardware store, but Home Depot, Lowe's, they all have these. And with the wire cable clip, you just also want to make sure that your stainless steel cable is able to easily go through it. And the last thing you're going to want for the installation is a screwdriver with the appropriate bit to fit on these nuts. It just makes screwing them in and tightening them a lot easier. So in this case, I'm using a 5/16 bit, but depending on what your wire clip is, it's going to vary. Okay, so the first thing we're gonna do in the installation is take our stainless steel cable, basically hook it over the bar. All right, so I'm going to basically install it right over here. So I'm going to take my stainless steel cable, just loop it all the way over. We're gonna find a nice place to hang it. This is kind of a lower ceiling than what I had it originally mounted on. So I want a little bit of slack, so I'm gonna keep it right about there. And then what I need is my cable clip. So you're going to take your cable clip now, you're gonna run it through one side, and you're also going to run the other side through it. Once you have the clip on, you're gonna basically try to run it all the way up. And you see how it's kind of tightening that connection and making a really strong loop? That's what you want. That's firm. I could literally hang on this wire if I needed to. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take your screw gun. You're basically going to tighten both of these nuts. Great. And we're going to do the second one. You see, now I have a nice and firm connection, and I have the rest of this to hang my speaker on. Now what you're going to do with your stainless steel cable is you're going to also hook it on the end, but now you're going to run it through the eye loop that is on the speaker. But before you do that, you're going to want to take another wire clip and run it through first. So you want to make sure you put the wire clip on first and then run it through the eye loop of the speaker right here. Great. And since I actually have additional slack, I'm going to also run this cable through. And now with this end that we ran through the eye loop, we're going to pull it up for the appropriate amount of slack that we want. So let's lower the speaker a tiny bit, see where it hangs well. Okay, right there. And now we're gonna run that end through the wire clip as well. So here's my wire clip. I'm gonna run it through just like that. And just kind of like how we made the loop at the top, we're making the loop over here. And you're basically going to pull it to whatever height you want. And then once it's set at a good height, you're going to do the same exact thing. You're going to take your screw gun, basically screw it right into place. The second one as well. And that's basically the whole installation right there. You can see it hanging off of this beam right now. Now the cleanup, it's totally up to you. A lot of people run their speaker wire right down this, and they might use a white loom or specifically white speaker wire to match the speaker. And you can also use zip ties all the way throughout to make it look like one clean steel cable. That is totally up to you. There is no right or wrong. It's just whatever look you're going for. But let's head back to the room right now and talk about wiring. All right guys, we are back in our audio room, and now you know how to actually hang your speakers from the ceiling. So the next step is wiring. Now in 70 volt systems and using 70 volt speakers, the wiring is really simple. It's all parallel wiring. Now what parallel wiring means is you just go from the positive to the positive and from the negative to the negative from one speaker to the next. And you can do this all the way down the chain. Even if you're installing 100 speakers, it doesn't matter. Now a really cool feature that we added to make installation super easy on these Pendant speakers is quick disconnect Euroblock terminals, which makes wiring a breeze. So let me show you what I'm talking about. So you'll notice over here, this is actually our speaker terminals for our Pendant speaker. You can see this green box over here. This actually pops out. So if I just pull up on it, it pops out. And this is actually where we're going to wire our speaker wire to. So it's very important to know which terminals you're using when you're wiring in parallel, because 2 of the terminals are to bring sound into this specific speaker and 2 of the terminals are to send signal to the next speaker in your chain. Now, if you look at the top of the speaker, there's actually a diagram here that's labeled to let you know which terminals are which. So in this specific case, the 2 terminals in the center are to bring signal into this speaker, this one being the positive and the third one being the negative. And then the 2 terminals on the outside are to send signal forward to the next speaker. This one being the positive to go to the next speaker, and this one being the negative to go to the next speaker. So I actually have my speaker wire run alongside the cable. I have my negative end over here, which is labeled with the black wording. And then I have my other end over here, which is going to be the positive. So I'm just gonna run that directly into my Euroblock terminal. So what I need to do that is grab a flathead screwdriver on the actual front of the terminal. So you turn it to the left to loosen it, and then you're just gonna run your speaker wire directly in. So remember, I'm going positive into the second opening over here. Take this speaker, this is my negative end of the speaker wire, and I'm going to run it into the third opening over here. And then you're going to tighten it with the screwdriver. So you can see we have that connection, and it's going right into the Euroblock terminal right here. And then I can take my Euroblock terminal and click it right in, and we are all connected. Okay, so great. So now we have signal coming into this speaker, but if I want to send it to my next speaker, I have to take another speaker wire and run it out of the 2 open terminals on this speaker. Now, I'm going to cheat a little bit. I'm going to run it directly from this terminal to the next terminal, but remember, if you're doing a professional install, you're going to run your speaker wire all the way back up your cabling, along your ceiling, and then down the other side of the cabling. But in this case, I'm just going to use a short cable just to illustrate the point of how easy it is to actually wire them. So what I have here is some additional speaker wire, and I'm just going to run this into the open terminals on my already ran speaker. So remember to follow the guide. So the first terminal over here is going to be our positive end to send the signal out. So I'm going to loosen. Then you're going to take the positive end of your speaker wire. You're going to run it right into that. Then you're going to do the same thing with the negative end. So make sure that negative terminal, the 4th terminal over here, is open. You take your negative end over here and run it right in. All right, great. So now what we're going to do is just run this end of our speaker wire that's coming out of the open terminals right into our next speaker, and we're just going into the positive and negative in, which is going to be terminals 2 and 3 on the second speaker. So we take our quick disconnect block off. We're taking our negative end of our speaker wire and running it straight into terminal 3, and our positive end and running it right into terminal 2. And remember, if you ever get confused, there is a diagram right at the top of the speaker to let you know which terminal is which. Once you have both of the wires ran directly into the quick disconnect Euroblock terminal, you can go ahead and plug it right into the second speaker. So now once we have both of the speakers connected in parallel, the next thing to do is connect it to our 70 volt amplifier. Now there is a couple things that you do want to check before you turn on your amplifier and play music. The first thing is to make sure that your speakers are tapped correctly. Now on these speakers, it's very easy to tap them. It's actually just a twist knob, and you can tap them in 4 different positions. So I'm going to tap them at 20 watts, which is position A on the speaker. So all I have to do to tap it is, right now it's in the D position. I just turn it to where it says A, and if I check my guide, that lets me know that I am tapped at 20 watts, which means this speaker is only going to pull 20 watts from my 70 volt amplifier. I'm going to do the same thing on the second speaker. I'm going to change it from position D all the way to position A. 1, 2, 3. And now both speakers are tapped to 20 watts, which means each speaker is only going to pull 20 watts from the 70 volt amplifier. So now when you are using a 70 volt amplifier and you have multiple speakers in your chain, you are going to want to make sure that the total amount of watts that each speaker is tapped at does not exceed the power that the amplifier can produce. For example, if I had 10 of these all tapped at 10 watts, I would want to make sure that my amplifier is easily capable of producing 100 watts or more of power. Now, the great thing about 70 volt technology and 70 volt speakers in general is you can mix and match them with different speakers, different styles of speakers, all tapped at different wattage amounts. You just have to double check and make sure that your amplifier is able to produce that amount of power. So after you've double checked your wiring and you made sure that your amplifier is able to produce the amount of power that your speakers are going to be drawing, the next thing is to just wire it directly into the terminals on your amplifier. Now, when you're using it in a 70 volt capacity, on most amplifiers, it should be labeled as common, which is going to be your ground, your black speaker wire, and then the 70 volt terminal, which is where you're going to run your positive or red speaker wire. So we're just going to run those directly into the appropriate terminals over here. All right, great. So now we can turn on our amplifier and make sure we're getting sound. So I'm just going to turn on my amplifier. Now, a quick way to check sound on your 70 volt system is just to hit the chime button on your 70 volt amplifier. So great, we're getting sound through both of our speakers, but let me just play music to double check. All right, both speakers are working clearly. And they actually sound great. They have a great bass response. And remember, these are pendant speakers, so if you're hanging them over a table for restaurant style seating or even conference room seating, everyone's going to be able to hear the music evenly, which is awesome. All right, guys, well, hopefully this video showed you how easy it is to set up and use your pendant speakers. But again, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to reach out to our customer support tech team through phone or email. As always, guys, I'm Mike from Rockville. I'll see you next time.